Hello and welcome to today's partner web conference. This is Fast Track Dynamics 365 for Finance and Operations Enterprise Edition TechTalk. Today's topic, what's new in Dynamics 365 for Retail POS Extensibility? Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Program Manager Mugunthan. So without any further delay, Mugunthan, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Nancy. Hey, thanks everyone for taking your time and joining this session. Okay. So the main agenda for this session today is we'll go over what are some of the new changes we did in the Retail POS extensibility, and we'll cover some of the changes what we did in the Retail POS. Okay. First, I will go over what are the new changes we did in the spring release. Basically, I will cover so from the retail SDK point, what are the changes and also how it's going to impact with the ceiling, what are the benefits of that ceiling. So we'll go over that in the first point. And then I will cover the POS extensibility architecture. So from the previous release to this release, we have changed the extensibility pattern. So I will go over the extensibility architecture and go what are the different components in extensibility and how you can extend it. And then after that, we'll cover what are the POS different UI extension pattern or the workflow extension pattern. We'll cover that in detail so which you can understand, okay, this is the pattern I should follow and extend any of the POS for any feature requirement. And we'll cover what are the different APIs, controls, and views available for you to extend or you to create or consume any of our functionality. We'll cover that details. Next, we'll show some live samples and demo on extensibility. At the end, I will cover a little bit of the channel extensibility pattern because this is something new we also changed in this release. So I will cover a little bit of the channel extensibility pattern. At the end, I will talk about the engagement model. Within this engagement model, we'll talk about because we seal the code and we are adding more extension point. If any of your scenario, if you found hey, there is extension point missing or you think you're not able to develop it for this particular scenario, then this engagement model will tell us hey, how you can reach out to us and then how you can communicate the extension points requirement. Okay, with that, let's get started into the session. First thing, even before going into what's new in spring release, I want a little bit talk about what are the different SKUs available for you to purchase, and then I will cover what are the ceiling up in which SKU has the ceiling and other stuff. Okay. Currently, we have mainly two different kinds of SKU for the Dynamics 365 for operation. The first one is the Dynamics 365 for retail SKU. When you purchase that SKU, everything, all the components, including HQ, POS, Channel DB, Retail Server, and CRT hardware station, everything will be sealed. So anything, when I mean sealed, it's anything if you want to extend, you should follow the extensibility pattern. You are not allowed to do any inline changes. The main important thing is with this SKU, even the HQ is also sealed. When I mean HQ is where you do the Express Plus side of changes, the retail headquarters or the other fine SEM or the supply chain, all the entire egg suite will be sealed. So you will be allowed to do extension only using the extension pattern. So no overlaying is supported if you go with the retail SKU. Within the retail SKU also we have two options. Either you can just go with the retail only module or you can choose the retail plus the operation. Okay. So the other SKU we have is the Dynamics 360 for finance and operation. So in this one, only the POS, Channel DB, Retail Server, and CRT and hardware station is sealed, but the HQ is AX will allow you to do overlaying. So you can make inline changes in the HQ, but all the channel side components, what are listed here is still fully sealed. So starting from the spring release, that is the July release, all our retail components are fully sealed. Okay, whether the HQ is sealed or not, it depends on which SKU you go with. But starting from the spring release, all the channel components are fully sealed. When I mean sealed, it's not something we're preventing customization or anything. Still, we're going to support all different customization scenario. But the only thing is you need to follow the extensibility pattern and do the customization. So in previous releases, what you have done is say, suppose if you want to do any POS enhancement or do new feature, you would have taken our full retail SDK and then taken the POS solution and you would have done some inline changes within that code, right? So, but with the new model, you will just use our POS as more like a SDK and then do the extension. You will not allow to do any inline changes. So the main changes with this new July 2017 release is you need to follow the extensibility pattern and then do the customization. So this is a quick UI like a diagrammatic representation of this one. So where like there is two SKUs for retail which is available, Dynamic 365 for retail SKU. You can either choose only retail only, it's always like fully sealed. And the other one is like you can choose the retail plus finance and operation, that also including fully sealed. Or you can, just to summarize, or you can go with Dynamics 364 for finance and operation. This also includes retail, but it's kind of like unsealed one. But still, in whichever topology or the SKU you choose, always the channel components will be fully sealed starting from the July 2017 release. The main changes is like you need to follow the extensibility pattern and do the customization. Okay. So with that, I will move on to the next slide. Okay, so you may wondering like, hey, why we did this sealing? Like, what is the benefit as a customer for me or as a partner or ISP? What is the benefit for me in going with the sealed approach and following your extensibility pattern, right? So I will talk about a little bit of the benefit. The first thing is like now we are with the sealing, we introduce kind of like a simplified customization model. Previously, what whereas like since we exposed the code, we found like everybody's like following their own different pattern. So there was like no unified pattern. And for us also to introduce some new API or to do a code upgrade tool or something, we don't know like what is the pattern followed by different customizations. Right? So that's why we thought like let's seal this one and come up with like a unified pattern so that when you extend, we know like what is the pattern you will follow and extend. And other enhancement we did was like now our previously if you used the commerce runtime in retail, it follows the request response pattern for extensibility. Now POS also going to follow the same pattern, and also even the hardware station is going to also follow the same request response pattern. So now most of our retail components follow the unified request response pattern for extensibility. So now you know like, hey, this is the pattern you should extend, and we'll also know like later, hey, this is the pattern you have followed and extended. So later when we provide you some enhancement tool to upgrade or something, we know like, hey, this is the pattern you will follow, so which will help you in like upgrade or some other scenarios also. And it will also, you will also know like what is the common pattern. So this is the way I should customize, and you can recommend your team and follow the same best practice at like what we are doing. And other thing is the other important thing is the easy maintenance. Previously, what happens is like when you do a customization, you always do inline code changes. So what's the problem with that approach is like, so later when we issue a hotfix or something, always you need to do a code merge and then redeploy, repackage it, retest it, right? So always you need to maintain the Microsoft code as well as your customization. So the cost of maintenance becoming it's very high. Now with the extensibility pattern is the advantage is like we separated the Microsoft code and then the customization. So now both are like completely separated. So later when we issue a hotfix or if you want to do a upgrade, you can just take the package and then apply it on the Microsoft code. You no need to do a code merge or anything. And also from the maintenance point, you need going forward, if you follow the extensibility pattern, you no need to maintain any of the Microsoft code. You just need to maintain your own customization. In the previous version, you need to maintain both Microsoft code as well as your customizations. All is like combined in one solution. You need to always do a code merge and retest, make sure like if suppose we did something in the same in what we're doing, you need to in some scenario, you need to even redo the customization. Now with this model, all those effort is like taken away. So the code maintenance, everything, you can just need to worry about only your customization. Since we've taken away the maintenance of Microsoft code and then code merging, and the other problem is like you need to understand like our code in order to do your customization. Right? So you need to understand, okay, this is the exact place I need to go and write my 2 lines of code. So you need to understand our full code, right? So it's going to take a lot of more time for you to understand it. So with the new model, you just need to worry up because there are like for each scenario, we have like specific extension points added. So you no need to worry about how our code works. You just need to more concentrate only on the customization. That's why the speed of implementation going to be drastically changed with this new model. So the speed and then the code merge is going to save you like a lot of money for even for the customers and the partners. And now the partners can now more think about the implementation rather than maintaining our code and merging and everything. And other good, we'll say like the key benefit is like previously we found like if a customer want to hotfix or upgrade, always they need to wait for a to do a code merge and then retest package and deploy it, right? With the new model, you can always be on the latest and greatest version. So just because the code merge and everything, all the effort is taken away. So you can, if you go with for example, if you go with the fully sealed model, including HQ and then the channel, to apply any hotfixes, just like clicks of buttons. Like you can just go to LCF and then say like, hey, I need this two hotfixes, or I need to upgrade to this version. Just click it and then apply it. So you don't need to do any code much. So all your customization gonna work in parallelly, and all the you also upgraded your code. So previously to upgrade, you need to do a lot of work. Now all those effort is like taken away. That's a key benefit, because we found this lot of customers and partners having this pain point, like to upgrade every time I need to take a hotfix, merge it, understand what all the changes has been done. So now all those effort is taken away. It's more, even we are working on some tools to do like automated push model also. Okay. This is like the benefits on the code merge and other side, and also on the servicing side, it's gonna like drastically improve. Same thing as I said, like as a partner, if you do some customization, and now you can independently push update to your customization. For example, as ISV, you sold something, and now if you want to push some update to this one, previously you need, as I said, like merge code with the Microsoft. Now you can just independently push your customization or your upgrade to the environment independently of the Microsoft. Similarly, like as a Microsoft, we can also like push to your environment. It's not like automated push. Currently, it's kind of controlled push, where we will say like, hey, these are the hotfix or packages available for you to upgrade. Then you can just go and pick and choose like which one I want to upgrade it. So it's more becoming like now seamless. So independently, Microsoft can also update, and you can also update your customization. So we change the servicing also, like becoming like a more simplified servicing model with the, if you follow the extensibility pattern, and if you go for the sealed version, you will get all this benefit. As I said, like the only change from the partner or customer side, like you need to follow the extensibility pattern and do the customization. So if you go with that model, you'll get all this benefits of seamless servicing, code maintenance, your cost of implementation, and you can always be on the new version. That's the main benefit of the reason why we did this sealing. Okay. So next I will talk about like the what's new. I want to talk about like from the POS SDK side, what are basically from the retail SDK side, what all the changes we did. Okay. Previously, this is the old version, the SDK November 2016 release, what we did. So you'll see like a lot of different folders here, the view model, the app, core, and inside that view model, you will see all the TS file. So if you want to modify something, you'll directly, for example, if I want to do something on the customer, I want to add a new field, you will open the customer view model and then take this one of these files and do inline code changes, right? That's how you will do the customization. There is no extensibility concept there. It's kind of always like inline changes, right? With the new SDK, we kind of like sealed all this and then said like only going forward, way to customize is extension is the way to customize. So with the new SDK, you'll see like very limited folder structure. So you'll see like two solutions, one for modern POS and cloud POS. And this shared up folder is like, because once you do customization in modern POS or once you do customization in cloud POS, it should work in both, right? So that's why some of the files is shared between the modern POS and cloud POS. So we'll see the shared app folder, and there are like some config files, and the app is the core app, POS app. And all your extension will be now in this one extension folder. So from the retail SDK, we have now like removed all the TS file or view model files. So you will not see those files anymore in the POS SDK. Okay, but don't worry, like still if those files are not there, how will we extend? We'll cover that later in the next few slides. We'll cover like how will you do extensibility if I want to extend my view or something, we'll cover that. Okay. So that's the main change we did it on the retail SDK. So we removed, basically like we hid all the files from the SDK so that you can follow the extensibility pattern and customize it. That's the main big change. We did it in the July 2017 release. So going forward, you'll not see any of our core implementation file. So what we did was like everything exposed as like a API. I will cover that a little later. Okay. And you can refer that API in your extension and follow the extensibility. And there is an extension folder. That's where all your extension gonna go. We also added some sample extension, which we'll cover later, but mainly like all your extension will go to the extension folder now. Okay. Okay. Next, I will a little bit talk about like what is the POS extensibility architecture. This is where I will cover like what all the different components we can extend and what is the pattern you're gonna follow. Okay. So I think one important change is like the POS extensibility pattern, because of the sealing, has been completely kind of revamped out, like kind of changed to follow that, make sure like we are moving more towards kind of like an API model where you can refer our API and do the customization. Okay. So the I split up the extensibility architecture in two parts. One is the extension and the other one is the POS SDK. So your extension gonna use the POS SDK and then you will do the customization. Okay. So now let's focus on the POS SDK. So within the POS SDK, you have like two components, POS API and then POS UI SDK. Okay. So in the POS API, again, this has like two different patterns, create or consume and then extend. So when I mean create or consume is like, suppose create is something like if you want to do a new feature. So for example, like you want to implement your own warranty feature, which is not there in the out of the box. And if you want to do that customization, we call those kind of something new. It's called as like create. Any feature you're doing which is not part of the out of the box feature, it's called as create. And then consume means it's like, suppose you are doing like a new customization and within that customization or like extensibility, you want to consume our feature. For example, within you're doing like a warranty extensibility and within that you want to use our APIs to get the product information or to get the warranty details or something like that. So if you consume any of our feature, we call that as like consume. And then the second part, as I said, is the extend, where it is like there is like existing out of the box feature which you want to like extend it to suit your business scenario. For example, in the customer master, already there is a way for you to create and save customer, right? Now you can say like, hey, I want to add like more fields or like in the product details screen or in the customer search screen. There is a screen, but I want to add like some more additional columns to show my customer own information. So in this case, you are extending our feature. That's what we call it as extend. Okay. So in the create and consume, I will talk about like what you can do and what you can consume. So we have like APIs for a request response. Okay. Since I told earlier, like now all the POS APIs are moved towards like a request response pattern, like a unified pattern across all our retail components. So either you can consume our request response APIs. If you can think like what is this request response API, right? So for example, the get product where from the channel DB you want to read all the product information, right? So there is a request to get product that's a request, you will use it. Okay, maybe the name will be a little different, but for example we call it as like a get product request. So from your extension you can just use that request and it will give you a response back with list of products. Okay, something, for example, other thing, you want to read our info codes, you will use a get info code request. So it's something, so any operation you now do in POS, it's kind of like a request response pattern, either for POS operation, any new functionality or feature, we call it as like operation in POS, any new operation. For example, there are some APIs there and there are like some POS operation, set quantity is kind of like operation. You can even use our operation in your customization. And then there is a data access API, as I said, like get product, get price. And there is a workflow level APIs also. When I mean workflow, for example, if you do a payment, right, it's going to multiple step. It's going to first go do authorize, and then it's going to add payment line, and then it's going to conclude transaction, right? So it has like 3 or more steps. We call it those steps as like the workflow. Even you can, those workflows also like exposed as a request response. So even you can consume that workflows within your extension. Either you can override that flow or you can consume it in your own extension. Okay. And then you can create your own localization and error because your customization, if you want support localization. So we expose the localization framework and logging framework, which you can use it. Similarly, you can create your own custom fields and controls. Also, you can do custom columns. So for example, in the transaction grid, you want to add like a custom column, or in the existing view you want to do a custom column, or you want to create your own view and add custom columns. All those are possible. Similarly, you can create your new view, and also you can do create your own controls and dialogues. In the extension, you can either consume our dialogues. For example, out of the box we shipped with a lot of different dialogue controls, you can consume it. And also we ship with a bunch of different controls which you can consume in your extension, or you can even create your own controls and dialogue. Also with this new release, we are also shipping like a templated dialogues where you can customize your dialogue to saying like, hey, I need 2 text boxes, 1 message box, and 1 like okay cancel button. So you can create your own templated dialogue also. So all these APIs are available part of the POS API. So we are supporting both like creating as well as consuming of this one. If you want to just consume our APIs and everything, you can just refer this API and consume it, or you can create your own. And the other is that for the extend one, so as I said, like you can extend our triggers. When I mean triggers, like for example, before add item to cart, there are 2 triggers available, pre-triggers and post-trigger. So you can extend the pre-trigger and then do some custom logic, or you can extend the post trigger and then do custom. Say, for example, after adding the item, I want to, for example, that item is like a recyclable item or something. You want to get the environmental tax fees from external system or something. So you can use the post trigger, extend the post trigger and write your logic to get the custom environmental fees and update that information in the cart. So you can do that kind of implementation, also extend triggers. And similarly, you can extend our existing views. For example, in the product details, let's take the product search screen. You want to add a custom column. So this is the existing view. You can also extend our existing view. Similarly, you can customize our temp out of the box. We ship some templated deluxe. You can customize that. Similarly, all our request response also you can override our request. Either you can consume it or you can just override our request response. So for example, as I said in the earlier, in the payment, we have like multiple workflow, right? The first workflow is, for example, authorize the payment request. By default, we talk to a particular test connector or something. If you say like, hey, I want to talk to my own connector and implement my own functionality, but it should be part of the standard workflow, but I just want to change the core logic alone. So in that case, what you can do is like you can just override our request. So what you will do is like, hey, I want to, so you will, in the extension, you will say like override authorized payment request. Then, and you can write your own custom logic and then just return the response back to us. Then POS know like how to process that response, and then it will go to the next workflow. Okay, you no need to do like override the entire payment or something. Just you can override that particular workflow and continue with the standard like rest. Even either within that workflow, you can write your own logic, or even sometimes it depends on scenario whether you can consume hours also within that, and then you can do some post processing. So we allow you to override our request response also. Okay. And then on the POS UI SDK side, we have like because when you develop customization, you want to follow the same themes and pattern what we are using, right? So you can from the UI SDK, you can consume our output bindings or the CSS layouts and themes. You can consume it from the POS UI SDK. It's either you can go with your own theme, or if you want to follow our theme and look and feel, you can consume our CSS files to do the theming. Okay, that's there in the UI SDK. Okay. So that's mainly on the POS SDK side. Next, I will a little bit talk about the extension. Okay. So previously we always support like one extension where you need to add everything, kind of like everything inline, right? Now with the new model, what we did is like we're going to support like multiple different extension. So as a partner, you are developing an extension, and as a customer, they can also buy ISV solution, right? Previously, everything need to be merged and give us like one extension. Now going forward, you can have like multiple independent extension, and both of this extension can be like independent folders. You no need to merge any of the extension. Okay, so each extension can, as I said, like it can have their own request response API. Your views, either you can create new views or extended our views, and then you can create consume our triggers. You can also, as I said, like you can do dialog, control, custom controls, and then you can override our request. And then the proxy is mainly to, if you create like a new CRT service, and then you want to read that service or call that service, then you will use the proxy. Even the proxy, now previously there is no way to generate in proxy by extension. It's all like one combined proxy. So for example, if there is ISV and in-house customization by the partner or customer, there is only one proxy, right? So if the ISV change something, you both need to give the code to who are doing that implementation, and then they need to generate like one combined proxy. With the new model, what you can do is like you can generate proxy by extension. So we completely like separating the extension model. Basically, all partners or ISV can independently customize, and you as a in-house team, you can push your update. As a ISV, they can push the updates up. You don't need to like talk between each other. Okay, that's a big change we did. Whatever you see it in the API, you can consume that in the extension. Another two important change we did was the extension manifest. I will go over the extension manifest when I show that demo. But this extension manifest is the place where you specify like, hey, these are the list of extension I have in my code. For example, if you created like a new trigger or if extended view, you will go and specify in the manifest saying like, hey, these are the list of extension I have. So based on what POS does is like whenever POS runtime loads, go and read this extension manifest and understand like, okay, these are the different extension as done by the extension package. So at runtime, based on this extension manifest, we'll load all the extension. That's like you can have like different things in your extension, but whatever you define in the extension manifest is the one will be loaded. Okay, so we'll see like, okay, there are like some request overrided. So for example, you overrided the payment authorized, then we'll read the extension manifest and see hey, if there is any override request for payment, then just load that one instead of loading the core Microsoft one. Instead of based on the manifest information, it will load it. Similarly, when we navigate to a view and we'll see like, hey, for that particular view, is there is any extension found in the manifest, then load that extension. Okay, this extension manifest like an important thing for us to know like what are the different extension you have. In each extension package, you need to do the so specify the extension manifest. And the other one thing we called something called as the extension list. Okay, so within that extension list, you need to specify the extension 1, extension 2, 3, or up to a number of extension you have. You need to specify that list here in the extension list. So what POS will do is like, first you need to see like, hey, what all the packages POS should understand. If there is 10 extension, you should tell the POS like, hey, only load this 2, 3 extension. So why we went to this extension list is later if you say like, hey, I don't want to have the extension 2, just remove it from my package itself. Previously, you need to go to the individual code files and then delete that code or comment that code, right? Now it's like more simple. Just you will go to the extension list and say like, hey, I want only extension 1 and 2. Just I don't want to load extension 3. Just by commenting it here, the POS system will not load the extension 3. Or later, if you want to say like, hey, you found some critical bug, you just want to unload that extension and continue with your flow. Just you will go to the extension list and uncomment it and then deployed. Previously, you need to do code changes, right? Now it's all kind of like a manifest driven. So similarly, you can have like n number of extension, all need to be like specified in the extension list. So POS runtime will see like, okay, what all the different extension I have. Okay, only those manifest will be passed and loaded. Okay, so basically you can include and exclude, the POS runtime can include or exclude extension based on the information you specified in the extension list. This is like high level info about the POS extensibility architecture. Okay. So next we'll talk about like what are the different POS extension patterns. So this is the pattern you will be following to extend your, when you want to extend POS or you want to create new functionality. Okay. So in this one, as I talked earlier, like we categorize into two different patterns, like extend and create. As I said earlier, extend is the one where you are trying to modify our functionality or try to add something to our existing functionality. So when I mean modify, so you can override a particular request and do your own logic. That's what we meant modify, and we meant adding. So there is like a, so for example, if I go to any POS screen, you will see like a app bar. Right, in the app bar, I want to now add a new button. That's what we mean like if you want to add something to an existing view, so you can do that also. I want to add like one more column to the existing view, or I want to introduce like a custom control into the existing view or like in the transaction screen. That means like the extend or adding it. Similarly, create is something, the feature which is not supported out of the box. And if you want something create independently new, as I said, like a warranty feature or like a delivery scheduling something, you want to do your own, you will use the create pattern and then you will follow the extensibility. So in the next few slides, we'll cover like what is extend and what you can extend and what you can create. Okay. So in the extend, mainly you can on the views, you can do the following things. First things you can do a app bar button extension. For example, all the POS pages as an app bar. So when I mean app bar is, for example, here. Oops. Okay, so in the POS app, if I go to any page, for example, if I go to like a search for a product, so you see this app bar here. This is what we call it as app bar. So here you can extend by adding like a new button, or currently hiding is not supported in the spring release, but later it will be supported. But you can add like new button. This is what I meant by app bar. You can add like a new button. Okay. So if I go back to the deck, let me switch to presentation mode. And then you can, next one is you can do a custom column set. What we mean by custom column set is like, so in the same product that you've seen like multiple columns, right? Now you can completely remove all those columns and add your own column set, or in addition to the standard, you will say like, hey, I want to add like 2 more columns. So you can do that. That's what we meant, like you can add a app bar button or custom column set. That's what the patterns we have on the POS pages. And then other thing was like you can extend our POS workflow. Either you can extend our triggers, as I like before adding to item. There are, for each operation, we have like a pre and post trigger. So after close shift, I want to do something, or before closing shift, I want to do something, or before clock in, I want to do something. So for each operation, we have like a pre and post trigger, which you can extend and consume it. Similarly, you can override our workflow. So override all our request response, currently all the request response is not exposed, but some of the main request response like the payment and something are exposed for you to override it. Okay. And also other things in the POS pages, one more thing you can do is like the custom controls. Okay. So in the pages, if you want, not all pages supports custom control, but in some of the pages, say I want to add a new custom control, you can do that also. For example, in the transaction screen, let me go back to POS. Okay. So for example, if I go to the current transaction screen, we call this as a transaction screen. If you say like, hey, I want to add a new control here after the totals panel, you can do that also. And this is not available in spring release, but in the next monthly update, it will be available. So you can add your own custom control here. Not all pages support custom control. Maybe we are working on making it support for this transaction page, the product details and customer added. Those are the 4 pages will be allow you to add custom controls for the initial in the next two maybe in the app update 3. When I mean app update, it's like each monthly release we call it as like app update 1, 2, and 3. So in the next 1 or 2 releases we'll add that feature. Okay, like adding custom controls on the screen, because in some scenario you want to show like a timer control, how much time it take to complete the, for example, if you're in a restaurant business, we'll say like, hey, how much time for me to take to prepare this order. You can show like a custom control and show that information. Or you want to show like the different plans available or whatever the information, you can use a custom control and then do it. Okay. Okay. And then also you can do the own your, it's under like creating, you can do the custom. On the extend we saw like what we can do, and then in the creating, you can, as I talked about, we can do custom control, and then you can create the own templated dialog. So we have the interface for the templated dialogs, which you can consume in your extension, the interface, and then you can format your own template dialog, create, as I said, like you can do a dialog with 2 buttons and then like a text box or however you want. You can design your own templated dialogs. Similarly, you can create like a new operation. So anything you see in POS, it's called as like operation, right? So what all the button grids you see in the POS, all those buttons, we call it as like operation. So similarly, you can implement your own operation and add it to the POS layout as a button grid. Similarly, you can do your own request handler for the POS runtime. For example, you implement like a data service in CRT, which you want to consume in different places of your extension. So what you can do is like you can add it as like a request response so that you can consume it in any of your extension. And also to consume the retail serve, the CRT APIs or something, you will add like a new request handler, and then using the POS runtime.execute, you can consume it. Similarly, the other thing you can do, create news, like you can create your own views. For example, for the warranty, you want to design your complete new views. You can do that using the custom views. We support like allow you to create your new views also. Okay. And then in the consume, as I said, like you can consume different APIs. We expose, for example, we expose all our, currently not all the operations are exposed, but we are adding more extension points. So currently like there are a lot of different APIs are available for you to consume. For example, add item to cart, get product, get the cart information, get customer. I will later cover like what all the different APIs available. This is just to give you like an example. So you can consume this. For example, if you're doing like a warranty scenario and the customer selects a particular warranty, it's like complete customization you're doing, right? And then you want to add that item to cart. Okay. For that, you just need to call our add item to cart KPI and then pass the item ID. We will add that for you. So it's more like a API model. And also you want to get product. For example, you'll pass ID and then say, I want to read the product details. You can use the get product. And say, for example, from your extension, you want to get the current cart information and do some changes. So you can get the current cart, or if you want to get the current customer information, we will call our get customer API. Okay. Similarly, for like we have like the request like to show custom dialog or open cache driver for all our hardware peripherals. So say for example, from your extension you want to print some receipt, you will call our print receipt request. So all these are, and if you want to like show some dialog or open cache driver, anything, everything is also like exposed as API. Okay. Similarly, you can also consume our retail server API using the POS runtime. So you want to call our existing whatever we expose, you will use the POS runtime to do it. And other in the consuming, as I talked about, you can consume our in the POS UI SDK. You can consume our layouts and themes and knockout bindings. You can consume it in the POS UI SDK. Okay. So next I will talk about like what all the different APIs, controls, and view extension you can do with the current Spring release. So we are adding more and more APIs, But if you want to know like, hey, what are the different APIs available so that I can use it in my extension. So I didn't add a slide for that. I thought like I can show it from the code itself. So if I go to POS here, so in the POS, you will see that POS API.d.ts file, okay, which has all the APIs and everything available for it. For example, if you want to know like what all the different operations or APIs available for me to consume, say for example, you want to, as soon as you want like a API, which for you to get the product information or like the customer information, there is like a get scan API. So using this API, you can do all those extensions. So basically, these files give you the information like, hey, under consume. So this is the pattern you'll see like under POS API.consume, you'll see like, hey, for sales order, okay, what are the different API? To products, what are the different APIs available? For org units, what if I want to get the org unit information? Okay, what are the different APIs available? I want to read all the hardware config, like the EFT profiles or something. If you want to know like whether any APIs are available, you'll come to this file and then, for example, if you search for like hardware station request, so you'll see, okay, this is the request I should call to get all the hardware station information or all the hardware properties. Similarly, if you want to open cache drawer, if you think like what is that API? So this is the like cache drawer open request is that API. So similarly, you can understand like, hey, what are the different views available for me to, because currently in the Spring release, all the views are not exposed for extension, only like few views are available. So if you want to know like, hey, what are the new views available for me to extend it? So you can just in the API file, if you search for views, so maybe basically you will see like under the, because if you want to extend it, you will see under like the extend slash views, you should be able to see the under the extend section, you will see like what are the different APIs available, views available for extension. For example, you can extend the customer details view. Okay, you can add like app bar button or you can modify the column. Similarly, if you want to see like what are the other views available for extension, yeah, there is inventory lookup views available. So what, and then in the inventory lookup, you can either add like a custom column. Similarly, like what are the other views? Say there's a okay product search, you can extend it. If you want to extend any view, which if you're not finding in that list, then there is like no extension points available yet. Then I will later talk about what should you do in that scenario. I will cover that in the engagement model. Basically, these files give you the list of information of different APIs or operation or views available for you to extend. Okay, similarly, basically it's the same pattern you will see here. POS API, if you want under slash consume, you will see what you can consume. Under slash extend, you can see, will, for example, triggers are will be under extend, right? Because you're going to extend our triggers. So we will see like, if I go under POS API under extend trigger, you can see like what all the different triggers you can extend. So you can extend our application triggers, or you can do like log on. Basically for all different operation, we have pre and post trigger. So you can see all those information in the POS API.d.ts file. So this will give you like all those information. Currently, there is no public document available which exposes what all the different APIs available, but mostly by end of next week or something, in the docs.microsoft.com site, will expose all this as like a public document so that you don't need to come and see the code, but you can just go to that document and refer like what all the different APIs available. But for a developer, something if you want to quickly know like what all the different APIs available, you can come to this place and find it like what are the different APIs available. Okay. So I will go back to my deck. Okay. So basically the next I will show some quick samples and demo how you can do a extension, and in the architecture diagram I talked about the extension manifest, right? So I will go over like what is that extension manifest and how we will use it. Okay. I will go back to my environment. Okay. So here, like this is the new Retail SDK. When you open that modern POS solution, for example, here in the Retail SDK folder, so you'll see under code, under POS. So you will see this one. So I opened that modern POS solution. So here, so there will be two projects will be there. One is the app, which you will not like touch or modify anything. It's mainly for you to refer and debug. Okay. And then there is an extension project. This is where you will go and add all your extension. Under this extension, you can have like multiple different SAM extensions. For example, under the extension, we are added like a lot of samples. In your implementation, you will just remove this and keep only your code. But for helping the dev community, like we added like a lot of samples. There are like two kinds of sample. One is like a end-to-end scenario-based sample. For example, let's talk the store or sample. This will more like a scenario driven as a store. If a cashier wants to know like what is a customer walks to your store and asks like, hey, what is the store opening hours and closing hours, right? So if you want to implement that scenario, how will you do it like end to end? Like I'll create a modify AX where I will define all the store openings and closing hours, and then I will add the channel DB extension where I will push that information. Then I will create like a new CRT entity, and then I will read that information, create a new view in POS, and then show that information. This is more like an end-to-end sample, how to create new CRT, how to do all those information will be there in this end-to-end sample. And there are other type of sample is more for a developer-oriented sample, which is like under this sample extension 1 and 2, which is more for a developer to quickly understand, hey, how I want to quickly want to create a new view. I don't want to understand all your scenario. I just want to know, like as a developer, quickly give me the snippet of code, which tells me how to use my extension. So this sample extension 1 and 2 will help you to understand. For example, in sample extension 1, we have different folders, which talks about hey, how to create a new custom control, or how to do a dialog sample, or how to do a new operation, how to do a new request handler, or localization in the source, or the triggers, or I want to extend some of the views or create new views. So like this is more for a developer to quickly understand like how will I do the extension. So if you see the code under any of this file, you'll quickly understand like how to do it. Okay, I will show this in the demo also. Then the other important thing is the extension manifest here. This where you will mention like, hey, these are the different extension I have. So based on this information, we will like repass this file and understand like, okay, the extension has these many extension, so I should load it during the runtime. Okay, so first this is like the schema information. You will just copy it, and then so for localization, you will say like, hey, what are the different localization my extension gonna support, and what is the file, where is the file is located. So for example, my extension gonna support like EN-US, French, and then the German. So you'll specify that information here, and then you'll give that location. Okay, where you specify the localization. Next, you will specify like, okay, hey, I want to extend customer details view. Okay, and then where is that file is located? That's what you will specify in the module path. So the pattern is something very similar, as I said. It can be extend or create, right? So you will say like, hey, I'm extending it, and what you're extending is view, and then which view I'm extending it, your customer details. Okay, and that inside in my deck I showed like in the views we support three things, right? Custom control, or adding a new app bar button, or adding a column. So you'll say like, hey, in this view I'm going to add a new button, new app bar button. So you'll say like app bar command. Okay, and then you'll say like, where is that file? Under the module path, we'll specify that file information here. Okay, similarly in the inventory lookup, I want to extend this, the inventory lookup, I want to do this one. Similarly in the search view, I want to add like a new app bar button. Okay, similarly in the show journal, I want to add a new app bar button. So we'll specify that view and say what you are doing. Similarly, for example, in the triggers, so under the trigger section, you will say like, hey, I'm going to triggers is like whether which type of triggers you want to extend. You should tell us like, so that manifest knows like, okay, before product sale there is a pre-trigger. Okay, so you need to say what is the trigger type and where is that file located. Okay, and all this, because you would wonder like, hey, how will I know all this syntax? This is like, this manifest is tied to a schema file, so it will give you like intelligence also. Like say for example under triggers, it will give like intelligence also. For example here, like if I want to like, it will give you the intelligence also. See, it will say under extend, it will automatically show like, hey, I can do views. So all this supports intelligence also. Okay, so if there is any syntax error, something, it will show it in red. So you can understand, like say for example, if I put like view one or here, something, it will throw error saying like there is no property defined like this. So it has like intelligence also. We custom built our own intelligence to help you with the extension. Okay, this is how you will define in the manifest. Similarly, if you want to create new controls, so you will say like, what is my new control and where is that module path? This is how you'll define the manifest with all your extension and information. Similarly, for example, if you're creating your own view and if you want to specify like what are the different column list, all those you can specify. Similarly, if you're extending our view to add like a custom column, you can specify that also in this manifest information. You know, the last I want to cover, if you want to like add a new operation also, you can specify it here under operation. Say like, hey, this is the new operation I'm adding, and this is the factory, and this is where my request handler is. So this way the manifest, you will go and define what all my extension. Okay, so next I will quickly show like one sample extension, okay, which we did. Okay, I will show mainly the sample extension, the developer sample. I will not go over the end-to-end sample. I will quickly show the developer sample. For example, in the manifest here, for the sample extension, we kind of under the sample extension manifest, we have like a lot of changes, right? So under the, for example, under the product details view or something. So under the product, this actually it's called a search view, not product details view. Search view, we added like a app bar command. So if I go to that view, now I should see this app bar command. Okay, like a quick product search command or something is added, right? You should go and see it. Okay, so I will go to POS. Okay, so I will search for a particular product. Okay, see now you'll in the product search view. Okay, you will see like this column has been customized. Just to say like this customized, we added the text like a customized column. So this developer extension will help you like how to add like a custom column or like align our column. And then for example, I will select particular item. And you see this we saw in the manifest app bar command added, right? So automatically this gets added here in the app bar commands. Okay. And then we added like two app bar commands. One is like just quick compare product and the other one is like navigate to sample view. I will navigate. If I click this one, it's going to navigate to a sample view. So this is basically helps you to understand how to create a new view. And then inside this view for the developer to help, like, hey, if you want to know how to consume our numpad control or how to consume our data list control, for each of the one, we exposed like the sample code and scenarios. For example, if I click this POS alphanumeric numpad, it will take you to the page saying like, hey, how to add numpad and what is the sample code you should write and how to read that information. So all the interface and then the controller syntax, everything is there. So for example, if I enter something, it will show you like how to read that value. So if you go and debug this one, you will understand, hey, how to use my numpad and how to read that value. All those information is here. For all our different controls, we have the sample. Similarly, for how to use the POS menu, for example, this menu control, if you want to know how to use it. So all those different control is given here. Similarly, other one simple extension view we developed to help the developer communities. Like if you go to this simple extension view, basically this is more for the developer. Okay, it's don't worry about the UI design or something. It's for the developer to understand like how to use the toggle switch or how to use the date control, or for example, if you want to know like how to use our menu control, or if you want to show like how to design like a templated dialog, as I talked about earlier. I want a text box, two buttons, and then enable this button based on some logic here in the dialog. So you can use the sample code and understand like how this templated dialog is done. So basically this view gives you like all those different information, how you can do it. And you can understand like how to navigate to a different view from this page to that page. And then if you want to show like a simple message dialog with yes or no button or okay cancel, so you can debug this code and understand how to do it. So the sample code for all of this scenario is available in the sample extension 1 and 2, as I showed it here. So in the sample extension 1 and 2. But if you want to understand more like end-to-end scenario, how I will call the CRT and update something, or how will I print a receipt, there are like different sample. For example, if you want to know how to implement it, there is already a trigger sample here. But if you want to like know like scenario based, for example, when I suspend a transaction, I want to print a receipt, right? So what you need to do is like you need to implement the post suspend trigger and then get the printer information and then call the print request, right? This is a 3-step. So this kind of scenario based, it's also there is some samples for that. So first I'm here, this is the pattern you will implement. Say I'm extending triggers, transaction trigger, and you will specify this in the manifest also. And then where you'll put the actual logic here, like I am extending post suspend transaction trigger. Okay. And then within that trigger, you're gonna get the hardware profile information. So you're wondering, hey, how will I get the hardware profile, right? As I earlier told, there is a request for each one. So you will just call this particular request. So once from the pos.api data file, or later when we publish the API document, you can know like for which request I can, for which scenario, which request I can call. So you can call this, just calling is just simple. As I said, like earlier, there is a runtime. We'll say like a runtime.execute this one. It will give you the result of the printer. Then using the same runtime, you will call the get print client request. That's it. So we will pass the required object to the client request, and then it will print it for you. So it's more like a API driven development. For any of your extension, you will consume our API, or if something new scenario, then you will write your own logic. Okay. Okay. Also, like in the developer, we had like a lot of samples in that page, like how to consume view. And then similarly in the customer search also, you will see some custom buttons. All those will work only if you enable the sample extension. So the next, as I in the architecture, sorry, in the architecture diagram, I showed you the extension list, right, where you can include multiple extension here. So for example, this is that file extension list, tsconfig.json. So this is where you can, say for example, I excluded all the other extension. Only I included this sample extension 1 and 2. You just go and say like this actually like exclude list. You'll say like exclude everything else other than this two. So automatically only this two extension. If I include all the other extension, then everything by default will disable everything. But if you want to try something, just come to this file and include what all the extension you need. Okay, that's a quick sample and how to do the extension. The next session we planned on August 29th and 31st will cover like a deep dive of how to do a view extension, out more like show like step by step how you can do a view and operation extension. That will cover in the next session. This is just like an overview, so I'm not going into the details. Okay, let me go back to the deck. And the next quickly I want to cover is the packaging. Okay, we didn't change much in the packaging. For example, in the manifest, we'll specify what are the different extensions. So I have like extension, ISV extension, partner 1 and 2, update our setting file, and then create like a POS package. One important thing we are doing for the next, maybe like in the future, you don't need to even do a combined packaging. You can have like a packages, separate packages, and each will be more like add-on. I will cover that later in the different webinar. But currently this is the packaging model. It didn't change anything from the previous release. Just you need to update the manifest and then they are included. That's the main changes. That's why marked as like manifest. And then previously all the extension will be within that POS project. Now it's kind of like all the extension are a little bit separated. That's a main change we did on the packaging. Okay, that's a quick overview of the POS changes in the new release. Okay. We'll quickly talk about the channel DB extensibility pattern. One important thing we did was like previously, if you want to add any new tables or something, you will do it in the our own CRT or the AX schema. Now we said like because we want to do a seamless upgrade. I mean, you should upgrade, you should just take it and apply. If you modify our schema, you will not be able to do it. So what we introduced a new schema called like the extension schema. So all your customization should go to the extension schema. For example, even in the store or scenario, when you create a script, something to add your own table or something, you will use this ext schema and then do the extension. You will not modify anything in our schema. So all your script should go to the ext schema. That's a one important change. If you modify our schema and deploy it during the deployment, we have a check which will throw you error saying like, hey, you don't have permission to modify or something. So make sure all your DB customization go to the ext schema. Currently, there is no packaging level check, but during deployment, we'll check it. Other important thing we introduced the attribute framework to add like new custom fields. For example, previously to add a custom fields in the customer master, you need to modify channel DB and CRT. Right? Now we introduce a new attribute frame. It's like in the existing attribute framework in AX. Using that, you can just create custom attributes and automatically add it to the POS and POS UI will show it. Similarly, we extend the attribute framework for customer orders and cash and carry orders also. So where you can just create attributes and automatically it will be available for you in AX. So you can just use the attribute framework and set values. You don't need to create new tables or new fields to capture some additional information. All those can be done using the attributes. I'll show a quick demo of that guy. Okay, so for example, in the past customer master, I want to capture some additional field, right? Previously, we'll modify DB, HTML, UI, and everything. Now with this new attribute framework, so if I go to create new customer, you will see this attribute section, right? It's all these are like a new custom fields I added. It's all coming through configuration. You don't need to write any code. It supports like list, it supports toggles. It's like yes or no button, and it's about integer, decimal, string. The two types not supported are the date time and then the reference attribute. Other than that, we support all the different other attributes. So you're wondering, hey, how this configuration from where it is coming, right? Just in the retail parameters. So you need to say like, hey, this is that. So we under the general, we added like a new customer attribute group. You'll say like, hey, this is the attribute group. My POS should show it. And then under the attribute group, you'll say like what all the different attributes it should show. So if I go to the attribute group, So if I extend the attributes, you'll see these different attributes like warranty, installation type, energies. Sorry, I was showing the other one. So you'll see this preferred color. So everything I just added as an attribute. So if you go to POS, you'll see all this information, same preferred color. So all these are like just coming from the configuration. Even this attributes now, this will be automatically show in the customer detail screen also as a new section. And also you can configure this attribute. So for example, if I add I will go back and I will add like existing customer. I will select this customer and add it to transaction. So if I go to the transaction screen, here in the customer panel also you'll see this marketing opt-in, right? This is also coming from the attribute. So basically we expanded the screen layout designer also now show the attributes. So you can just like move the columns and show it's all we made it as like a configuration. You no need to write any code to do this. Same for the order scenario also we extended the attribute support. But for order there is no UI because we don't know which part to plug that attributes, right? So you can use this and plug it wherever you want. But how to save it or how to read it, fetch it, all is like automated. Only you will put some post trigger and then set your core business logic. Other than that, everything is automated. In AX, we added like a UI to show the set attribute values for both for customer also. If you go to customer master and then in the retail attributes tab, we can quickly show that. So for example, if I go to customers, for example, if I go to all customers, if I select any customer, and then in the customer action bar, we added like a retail tab. For example, I can select any customer retail. And then if I go for retail attributes, you'll see what all the different attributes configured and you can set values directly here also. Same, you don't need to like customize anything in the AX to set the values. Okay. Similarly, for the order also, we have the same UI. And similarly for the cash and carry transaction also, we have the same UI. You can edit and set values for if you create any call center order and if you want to set values in AX itself, you can still do using the attribute frame. You just link to the channel saying like, hey, my order's gonna support this list of attributes, just configure that. Automatically you can set value. Similarly for this values, if you want to set logic from the POS or CRT, you can put some triggers and then set that value. If you want to show it in the UI also, you can create like a custom view and show this information for orders. For customer, we did it like end to end, but for orders, we don't know like which scenario you want to plug. So you can create your own view and then do it. Okay. Let me go back to my deck. Yes, that's the orders and attributes. We can have like attributes for customers, and it will show an added screen details, transaction screen. And also there is a sample extension which shows like in the customer search, you want to add a custom column as attribute. There is a sample like how to show it. Currently search is not implemented, but you can, in the future, we are working by search also. Yep. Similarly for the orders, you can do at a call center or update channel orders, customer orders, and cash and carry. Okay. The last thing I want to cover is the engagement model. Okay, as I talked earlier, right? So there is some API. For example, in the pickup and receiving screen, you want to add like app bar button, or like you want to add a custom column. But in the POS.d file, you will not see that API or view available for you to extend it because we didn't add any extension point. Since we sealed and we are adding more extension point, but we are adding by priority by talking to different customers and partners based on their go live date. We are adding more and more extension point. For any of your scenario, if you found like, hey, there is an extension point missing, what should I do in that case, right? So you need to share that information with us, then we will analyze. And so what we'll do is once you share the information with us, we will like do the analyze and design. If some extension points are required, we will implement that for you and then we'll validate and release it with you. So from your case, you can either if there is no extension point available, we can release it for you, add it and then release. But if there is already available, but you don't know how to consume it, then we can help you with like giving the document links or some samples, and you need like a little bit to work around or optimize your code to support this one. Or if it's something like a new one we released, you can consume it. Just share us the extension in this format. So then we can, okay, analyze, our team will like analyze it and then tell you like as soon as you send the requirement, maybe within a week or 2 weeks, we'll analyze and get back to you with the details saying like when all these extension points will be available for you. Or if there is it's already available, then we'll tell okay, this is already available. Or if there's a workaround, we can tell that you also this is the way to you can consume it. Okay. So please share us that requirements in this format. So we'll help you with that, adding that extension point for you. This is for the retail. This is like a template how you can share it. This is from the retail channel component side. Similarly, for the AX also, you can share it. So if you're like interested in going with a fully sealed version, there are like a lot of benefits as I talked about earlier, right? If seamless servicing, seamless upgrade and everything. So if you want to go with a fully sealed version, then you can, if you found like any extension point missing for AX, you can share that information with us. We'll say like, hey, we can do it by your timeline, or if it's not possible by your timeline, then we'll also communicate that also. So you can understand and when it will be available. Based on that, you can plan it, right? For AX customization, either you can share us the customization analysis report or the code upgrade report or the runtime packages metadata information, or if you don't have all those details, you can at least share us this in this template. So what we want you to do is like just analyze it and do your design and analyze like this. These are the extension missing. Then based on that, we'll add that information for you. Okay. And then the email address to send all this is like send it to this email address. I analyzed we did our design, and this is the scenario we want to do. But this particular say we are not able to like add or like for example, you found like you want to add like an info code at the end of transaction on your custom scenario, but you're not. But there is already API available. But for a particular scenario, after our say like after you void a sale line, you want to add an info code. If that is not available, you want to know like how to do it, or there's a API you need for that scenario, then you need to tell us like, hey, I need like add item voided info, how to add like an info code after void transaction. With that, if you give that at much level more details and send it to this email address, then we will respond back to you like saying like when it will be available. Okay. Yeah. That's it from us. Thanks everyone for taking your time and joining the session. Yep. Please provide us feedback. We'll happy to help you. Yep.
All right, thank you, Mugunthan. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring your attention to a link that I posted in the messages panel. That's a link to a short survey for this web conference, and we ask that you please take a moment before logging out to access it. We hope that you found today's information helpful, and if you enjoyed today's web conference or have feedback on how we can provide you with a better event, this is your chance to let us know. The survey scores are on a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest score possible. And that is going to conclude today's web conference. Attendees may access the web conference recording via the same registration link used to attend today's live broadcast. I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenter, Mugunthan Manny, and thank you, audience, for logging in and joining us today.